Hey guys, so once the spiritual component, the spirit identity has flatlined itself into the human component, the earth, once heaven has flatlined itself into the earthy part of you, the way the earthy, the human self had flatlined into ascension into the heavenly realm within you. Um, Once that happens, we can all get along. We will see each other's light and celebrate diversity, but while we are a manifest son of God, you're a manifestation or embodiment, personification of a specific God. And there's interleader warfare there. This is why Paul rebukes Peter in Galatians 2, James rebukes Paul in Acts 21:21. Paul says if they preach a different Jesus than the one his camp, which means Timothy, Titus, Aquila, Priscilla, Lydia, Sosthenes are preaching, let them be cursed, while we are in ascension, manifesting a specific interpretation of reality as a specific God. This is where there's blessing and cursing, whether you want to admit it or not. This is where while Paul was manifesting the God, the heavenly realm he knew, he could send, according to the book of Acts, handkerchiefs that he anointed from his very body and healed the sick, but then somebody merely interrupts his preaching in Acts chapter 13 and he curses him with blindness, and the guy goes blind during a church service. This is where Peter's shadow could heal people, but then he, because of his racism, curses a Greek couple, Ananias and Sapphira, with death, and ignores the food service, not for the Jewish people, but for the Grecian widows, the Greek and their women. So John the Essene, the prophet from the Essene group on the Isle of Patmos, likely is referring to Paul's camp, and he writes to one of the churches, you've tried those who say they're apostles, but you found them to be false. Remember when Paul said it, we flourished in the regions of Asia, 7 churches of Asia, and then in another epistle he says, now we're kept out of the regions of Asia. So same thing in today's world. While you're manifesting a specific God, you have boundary lines in the world of, because we're in the world of form, according to Kabbalah. While we're in the world of form manifesting our specific God, there's interleader warfare. There kind of has to be if you're going to keep your path pure, or at least when block people on Facebook who throw shade at your life's work on your cyber property. When they come on your profile and throw shade at your life's work because you're a manifest son of God, but manifesting a different God than they are. But when it flatlines in the Revelation 21 bride descending, not ascending anymore, but descending, in the descension, we all get along. When you take your clothes out of the dryer, there's a manifest son of God, but when you iron it, there's the manifest son of man. So here we are in Matthew 10:23. Jesus had manifested God, but then through his conversation with the pagan Roman centurion, his conversation with the Canaanite woman, his conversation with the Samaritan woman, now human-to-human relationship with those people that he was trained at an early age to think were devils, he realizes are not devils. He tells the Roman centurion, you have greater faith than anyone in Israel. He sees spirit and truth in the Samaritan woman, and he sees great faith in the Canaanite woman. That's the overturning of the tables in his heart. In today's world, when you interact with black, brown, gay, trans, Palestinian, Ukrainian people, you start to realize that the Christian supremacy or even the New Age supremacy, identity as, when you identify as spirit, you say the spirit is the real me. Well, where'd you get that idea? How did you define spirit? Oh, the New Thought leaders told you what spirit was or was not. The New Age leaders, the Christian leaders, the Sufi leaders told you what spirit was or was not. So in the world of forms, you don't say God anymore. You say the universe. But who defined to you what the universe would do or not do? Who defined to you? Where'd you get the definition for the laws of the universe and how to cooperate with it? People who gave you that definition based on their nurture, nature, and life experience in their world of forms. And you inherited that. You inherited a God. Timothy and Titus inherited a slightly different God, a slightly different Jesus than than Peter, James, and John gave their disciples. And there's the interleader warfare. You have tried those who say they are apostles or not. 2 Corinthians 11, throwing shade at other apostles, according to verse 23 in 2 Corinthians 11, other apostles who had been flogged and put in prison, willing to die for the sake of Jesus, but he calls them Satan, transformed into an angel of light. So there's a certain purity we have to keep when we are manifest sons of God. But when we become the Matthew 10:23 Son of Man through interaction like Jesus had with these various people that synagogue told him were evil, and he found out they were not evil. When we through creating equality between our spirituality and our sexuality, the erotic seen as holy, not as sin, the anti-racist activism seen as holy, not as being judgmental. Activism has historically created a healthier society. I like things that you can prove, not aliens in the sky that you can't prove. I like things that you can prove, like is this path helping me to love people better, or is the path causing me to separate from people, with the idea that our group is the pure consciousness and everyone else must come to our city set on a hill. So when we define a God, and you can't not, we're in the world of forms, not in the upper worlds where there is no form. That's the larvae God. That's just the cocoon with no form. John 5:37, Jesus said he saw God in a form, and KJV says shape, that the people he left behind in the exoteric Judaic world of rabbis could not see that shape and that form that he had. The psychological shape of grace is different from law, and the grace, not to be confused with mercy, which is forgiveness, but grace that is the supernatural power to keep you above your human self. Unfortunately, when you elevate above through high vibration above your human self, you also negate the true meat of the word, the true meat of the creator in human to human interaction with those that are different from you. And you never discover the Holy Grail, that light where we all get along and love each other and celebrate each other. But we're in Matthew 23 now, Matthew 10:23, where Jesus said to the disciples, he said, before you were done preaching in all the cities of Israel, you will have seen the Son of Man. So in the Son of Man, the spirit flatlines into the earthy aspect of your being, Mother Earth within, who then gives birth to a greater, healthier spirit. And so that spirit is the Son of Man. That spirit you carry is the Son of Man, because it's human to human relationship with others, and self-awareness gave birth to a healthier, more inclusive, more loving spirit. The spirit is created from matter. So matter ascends into spirit in the ascending phase of our lives. And we have a God that is specific. We're faithful to the tradition we were given, whichever tradition we bore witness to the most as being truth. And then later in life, before you are done preaching in all the cities of Israel, you will have seen the Son of Man, where spirit descends into matter. And then in that coagulation, matter, the Mother Earth within, matrix, the holy matrix, gives birth from that womb of human-to-human interaction, affirming both the angst and the ecstasy of being human in all of its glories and all of its joys. You put your whole foot down on it. You don't just throw the human part of you a bone every so often. Like I did in Pentecost. I would take myself out to dinner once a week. But the human self didn't matter. It was all the spirit. When offended, I would shoot up into the heavenly realm, see their perspective, and shoot back down into the daily grind and live with no offense. But nothing ever got worked out. It was just, oh, that's where they're at, that's where I'm at. I'm going to love them as they are. But nothing, we didn't grow in our relational skills. That takes a heart-to-heart sit-down where both people see where each other is coming from, and you reach through love a healthy compromise. But relational skills were not developed. We had to forego our relational skills, marital skills, social skills, how to relate to people different from you. We just shot into the higher vibration and just removed our self-awareness so that we wouldn't feel the pain of rejection. We removed self-awareness because we thought self-awareness was bad. And spirit awareness is the only true me that exists. But in the descending, a greater glory happens where the human part of you gives birth to a greater spirit, and now that new spirit and your human self now have a harmonized marriage rather than the human yielded to the spirit, which negates her, Eve's, purpose as the mother of all living. John chapter 10, Jesus said they called them gods to whom the word of God came, the mother of all living gods. From legalism to grace, you gave birth to something better. From grace to universalism, the Eve properties gave birth. And it all starts with a question. In universalism, you gave birth to the universal Christ mind. It all starts with the question, did God really say? Whether it's Saul of Tarsus stoning Stephen to death. You know, they laid their clothes at Saul's feet because he was in charge of that stoning. Maybe the Eve properties in him, the feminine energy, the human part of him said, did God really say that we should, in Deuteronomy 13, that we should kill these people? The universalist who used to be a Pentecostal Christian said, did God really say that, sexuality is sin, being gay is sin, affirming Palestine is sin? I mean, you start to see that there's no greater hate than Christian love or any kind of all religious supremacy is that. So all question, critical thinking skills, did God really say, it always leads to Eve, the Eve within you, Mother Earth within you, the Proverbs 8, feminine wisdom within you, giving birth to a greater spirit, where we see with 2020 vision, we see not only the spirit speaking from spirit to spirit with people, but speaking human to human with people, because now the spirit flatlined from its existence in high vibration and is the high vibration within the human exploration. Within human exploration, discovering all the glories of the human being, the earthy part of you. Therein you find the spirit in a way you couldn't when you had to live above it, live above the human realm. This is where we all get along. This is where there's no interleader warfare. So every new quote-unquote day, Luke 17:22, Jesus said there would be many days, not of the Son of God, but of the Son of Man, where man gives birth to a greater spirit. Many days, and he told the scripture teachers in Luke 17:22 that they wouldn't even see one of the days of the Son of Man because they were content to stay the sons of God, the God that they knew, Yahweh of the law of Moses. And every time we do that, from legalism to grace, grace to universalism, universalism to social activism, those are 4 different days in your life. Every time we give birth to a greater day and a greater fruit, a fruit that would have been forbidden fruit to the previous day or the previous God form that you had. Every time we do that, we die in that day. In that day that you eat this fruit, you will die. Yes, you will die to the God form you had, you will die to yesterday's version of yourself. So church historians say that Peter and Paul preached together in Rome in 62 AD, just before the big fire broke out and Nero blamed the Christians, and so Peter and Paul were killed among hundreds of other Christians. And that's significant because when Paul rebuked Peter for withdrawing from non-Jewish company when Jewish people came into the room, Paul never did go back to Antioch, where Peter was at the time. They probably didn't get along for the next 15, 20 years. But when because they were both sons of God, you see, they were both manifesting their interpretation of God, the God that they were given, the God that they believed in based on their nurture and nature. But when Peter and Paul, true to Jesus' words, towards the end of your life, in another gospel account, Jesus said, some of you, not all 12, some of you standing here will not taste of death till you've seen the Son of Man. Okay? When they became the Son of Man, Peter and Paul were able to get along and become ministry partners in Rome during the last couple of years of their lives. But it takes a greater maturity. Perhaps Paul thought about that time he pronounced blindness on a guy and repented in his heart. Man, that was wrong. Or maybe Peter remembered not feeding the Grecian widows, repented of his racism. Perhaps Peter remembered the real reason, through greater maturity, why he withdrew from Gentile company. That, at the time, well, it's because of the scripture. But, you didn't overturn those tables of racism within you. So, in today's world, when we eat the fruit of spirit awareness and self-awareness, equality, the fruit of spirit awareness and self-awareness, equality, we die in that day to the existence we once carried in the garden of spirit supremacy, spirit dominating over the soul and body. Counting the body no longer just a vehicle or just a meat suit, but the Holy Grail, the real reason we came here. And the metaphysical properties, not heaven, not earth, but the mountain of transfiguration in between, the metaphysical properties of the human body, where we find the true spirit in repose, not in meditation and going to a high vibration, but in repose we find the spirit, in just the stillness of being a human being. Just our existence alone becomes the reward. Whether you have a following or not, you may not have social reward, or maybe you do, but your existence becomes peace, because the spirit and the flesh are no longer, in Romans 7, fighting each other, but the spirit and the flesh have made peace with each other, fallen in love with each other, and had a baby, the Son of Man. That's true on a personal level. It's true on a corporate level. The age of Aries, there's Moses. The age of Aries gave birth to its son, the Son of Man. The age of Pisces, there's Jesus, the Buddha, some Vedic literature, Kabbalah, Hermeticism. Okay, then the age of Pisces, now it's going to give birth to its son, its child, the age of Aquarius. The equilibrium point, the human self, the sacred, identifying no longer as spirit, because that created interleader warfare. Because when you identify as your spirit, it's different from someone else's spirit. But when you identify as a colorfully wonderful human being wherein the spirit is, now the world of spirit is unlimited, because you're experiencing it in your daily grind, your daily human existence. That's when it becomes unlimited. You don't have to go anywhere else. You don't have to go above anything or below anything. You're just in the heart space. And the light is now inmost, working its way outward, rather than ascending, descending. Rather than death and resurrection, you're just an eternal human. And those properties created in the human affirmation are eternal. And so then, instead of your spirit having to reincarnate over and over, now the human you are right now, I believe, becomes eternal. And perhaps, well, the vision I saw back long before I deconstructed from Christianity, I think it was around 2008, I saw this vision of the metaphysical properties of my human body um, changed form into kind of like a tiny little spacecraft, not made of metal, but made of me. And I was traveling through the universe, and God said, now you're going to go to the next project, whatever that would look like. So become eternal as a human. As long as we think just the spirit is eternal, that's one layer of our being and the complexity of our being. When we deny Mother Earth, her angst, her ecstasy, because we were told it's sin, you're just spirit, and then that spirit has to keep reincarnating because we didn't get it. We didn't get it. If the starseed channelers say you're just spirit, you're going to miss it. If the Christians say just walk in the spirit, and where Paul says when he was a manifest son of God, he said crucify the flesh because it's bad, evidently. That you're no longer under the spell of that lie about the woman, the feminine energy within you, the bodily appetites, all things pertaining to planet Earth, the clay you were made from. And you recognize the glory of she rather than just he. He is the sperm of thought, the sperm of thought that is creative, but you recognize the equality of the womb that gives birth to a greater spirit and a greater spirit and a greater spirit, so that the spirit is not eternal. You, the human, are eternal. And once you get that, it clicks, and no more reincarnation.